I can see Carol Jenkins.
Hi, Lavender. Would you mind allowing people to join in, because all the USA team, they are waiting to join?
Yes,
Hello?
so I have allowed people to join. So I'm just making them panelists so that they can share their videos and audio.
So just please carry on, and Mark and Chris and everybody is waiting to join.
Yes, Mark is in, Thomas Arukoyo.
Okay. Mark, if you can hear us, just let us know that you're in. We're going to start the meeting now.
I have unmuted, sorry, 1 second. I have unmuted Thomas, but
Okay,
I think
I see I'm not muted.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mark. I can see you now. So thank you for everybody for coming in. The purpose of this meeting is basically every year when we have an AGRF. If you don't know, AGRF is this agriculture Green Revolution Forum that happens every year in September. AGRA organizes it in collaboration with the partners. Doing that, the USAID normally want to engage with partners who are implementing programs that are funded out of the USAID engagement or cooperative agreement that we have. So as part of that, we have USAID wanted to speak to you in terms of where you are, in terms of the program that you are implementing, and also give an overview of what you guys do as an institution. So without further ado, I want to invite Cyril from Kume to share his screen and then present his business, and also what you are doing under the current engagement we have with you, I think since last year. So Cyril, over to you. I think Lavender, you need to give him the presentation mode. Thank you. So Cyril,
hi everybody, are you able to see my screen?
I can.
Let me try again.
Please, yeah, we can see that. We can see your screen.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I heard I can't. Great. Okay, good. So just quickly, thank you for the opportunity to share, and thank you to the support from everyone here to the work that Kume has been doing and the exciting project we're working on that's currently in progress. Let me just start. Many of you probably have no idea who Kume is. So I can just give a very quick overview. Kume is actually two companies. The one implementing the grant is Kume Harvest, but I should first talk about Kume Freight. In 2016, I founded Kume Freight. I'm the founder and the CEO of Kume Freight and Kume Harvest, of both companies. We founded Kume Freight in 2016, coming out of the MIT Center for Transport and Logistics. We'd seen a lot of problems with the disorganization in the freight markets in Rwanda. No kind of form of coordination. If you need to hire a lot of transport, particularly in agriculture, you need lots of trucks in a short period of time reliably to make sure harvests are picked up on time, and getting that was a nightmare. So we designed a freight brokerage, and Uber for freight, so tech enabled, to be able to help coordinate freight and make sure that when shippers need to move goods or pick up goods, they have trucks available to do it. It's very simple, but it's really fundamental to functioning businesses and infrastructure to an economy that we sought to improve, and primarily working in the agricultural sector. We started that and it grew very quickly. We're the largest transporter of domestic freight in the country. We do about 10,000 loads a year right now. And we're also adding in now some cold chain trucks, because we've seen that there's just not enough cold chain capacity in the country. So that's Kume Freight. Somewhere in year 2 of working on Kume Freight, a lot of our transport, the goods we were transporting for agriculture clients, particularly maize, was having a lot of quality problems. And we saw that the buyers that we were transporting for were having very high rejection rates of the maize they were buying from cooperatives. And when we spoke with them, we saw that the rejection rate was about 90%. And this is mainly because of something that grows in maize called aflatoxin. So leveraging the logistics work we could do at Kumwe Freight and being able to quickly get to farms to quickly pick up crops, we started also seeing if we could add, do additional work to support farmers in their post-harvest processes. So in addition to picking up the maize, we could somehow improve the quality in getting it to buyers. I won't go into all the details of how it works now, but I'm happy to share more at any point or another time. This is something we're all really proud of at Kumwe. We changed the model for buying to what we call the cob model. And we essentially buy very shortly after harvest, and we aggregate all the maize from many smallholder farmers, from many cooperatives into an industrial scale processing center where we do the activities normally done manually at the farm level. And where it takes, about 6 to 10 weeks for a farmer, it takes us about 24 to 48 hours to do all that work. And again, without going into further detail, I'll just share some of the results of that. We've served about 40,000 farmers this last year. It's very quickly grown because the value it adds to farmers. Not only does it reduce the time between from harvest to delivery to the factory, which means we can from 2 months basically to about 2 days, meaning farmers get paid much sooner, but it also reduces their losses because they don't have they're not doing the processing themselves, which is very inefficient. So it goes from about 20% estimated post-harvest losses to about 2% through us. The aflatoxin rejection rates, we're at 90% now. When we handle, it's below 1%. So for us, aflatoxin is no longer an issue. We can buy indiscriminately from farmers and make sure that their maize is going to go to premium buyers, and we can pay them a premium price for their maize because of that. The farmer net income also substantially increases because they have less losses, they don't have post-harvest costs, and they're getting a premium price. And so we've seen that it goes up somewhere between 2 to 3 times compared to if they were just to do grain processing and sell it on the local market themselves. So that's a very quick overview, trying to push a lot into that, but our work overall is trying to make sure that what farmers grow, we're as efficiently and reliably, with the least losses possible, getting it to the best market possible for them and helping them reap what they've sown. We're starting to look at other crops in addition to maize and the cob model we've been doing, including in horticulture, looking at beans, and also there's some really interesting new technologies coming out that we're talking with the manufacturers about potentially introducing, but that's for another discussion. So the project we've been working on that you've been supporting is to take a step back. One of the underlying problems in Rwanda is you have 350,000 tons. So 350,000, you can look on the image on the right if you want, 350,000 tons being produced in the country by almost all smallholder farmers. And of that, there's a demand of somewhere between, let's say, 70,000 just for 2 buyers to 100,000 tons of premium maize. So there's buyers that want to pay a high price for good quality maize in Rwanda with 70 to 100,000 tons of demand. It's even more than that. And so how much actually crosses over is only about 15,000 tons, meaning that those buyers who need 100,000 tons are primarily importing, even though there's lots of maize available locally. And the question is, where is the rest of that maize? This has been something that we were working really hard on, right? And how can we get to it affordably? Most of that maize, again, we know it's grown by smallholder farmers, so it's very spread out. And getting to farmers is very costly, especially when they're small. So we need ways to be able to aggregate volumes and know where farmers are and be able to efficiently plan logistics in order to be able to pick up from them and make sure those farmers are included in this market access system that we've been able to develop. So the solution we're working on with this project, and it's in collaboration with IBM. I think they're talking next, so I didn't want to present on their behalf about them, but I wouldn't do them the full justice. But IBM is a close partner alongside with Koomway on this project. We're effectively trying to use AI and machine learning to combine satellite imagery and other collectible information such as weather patterns and these types of things to be able to identify where maize is being grown using the satellite imagery, and to be able to predict how the crop is progressing. So what the crop is, how it's progressing, its health, and even potential timing on the harvest. And we can use that information, if we have that then, to better find where the maize is located, when it's going to be harvested, make our logistics and our aggregation activities planned around that information to help make us much more effective. That, you know, if we're able to do that successfully, we'll be able to, you know, not only reach those farmers and not only kind of do this better planning in our logistics, but it also has it's a very powerful tool beyond that, even for other purposes. For example, if we're able to input and understand how different types of fertilizer usage being applied in different areas, you could compare this against the satellite imagery, right, and understand yield impacts of different inputs, or where you've done trainings and has that impacted in a broad way the productivity of a certain area. So there's a lot of other exciting applications that come out of this, you know. And overall, I think where this most strongly touches is, you know, strengthening and expanding the access to national and regional markets for farmers and really driving this inclusiveness. You know, I think these other potential applications also will, you know, address the strategic objective of the resilience and adapting to shocks and stresses for farmers and the productivity levels. So where we're at right now in the project is we've completed so far. We had a digital investment report that we worked with USAID to you know, to submit to them using some of the tools USAID had developed on the best practice for software development. IBM carried out a workshop here in Rwanda, which we helped coordinate, bringing together farmers, cooperative leaders, transporters, and different aggregation agents to do a kind of a design workshop around the system. And that has been completed. And then through that, we've been able to map and agree to kind of what are the use cases, what are the features of the system, the architecture, and the design plan. Once that was developed, we now have shifted. It's been really IBM spending a lot of their effort to be able to develop the initial platform, and particularly the component of it that allows us to collect data. So if you know about machine learning, you have to feed the AI, you have to feed the machine information to train it, right? So we now have from IBM that tool where we can go to fields, effectively go and measure farm boundaries, collect farm level information, right? And then they can use that in their to develop the right AI to be able to predict from satellite imagery what we've mapped, and use that base information to predict other places that would also have a maize, that would also be at a certain level of production and these types of information. So we're helping it learn how to predict where maize is. That data collection effort hasn't yet started. We've just received the application. There's been some questions about how do we collect the information and some little bugs, but I think even this morning there was a call on that to work that out. We have some issues with COVID. We're not allowed to have people traveling around the country and crossing different regions currently. So of course that makes data collection very hard, but we do have a plan working with One Acre Fund to collect 200 to 400 farms, the boundaries from 200 to 400 farms, the farmers that they work with in remote locations. So we hope that that will be helpful as soon as we're able to get through these travel restrictions.
So thank you, Cyril. If you can just wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty much done. Next steps is to train and refine the AI. Once we have that information, build the initial, like the further prototype for us to operationalize the logistics planning and the aggregation planning. And then ultimately, this is a pilot. It's a way to try to learn about this technology. We'll provide reports on how that's worked and hopefully have a product that we can keep using and has applications to anywhere else in East Africa or the world. So, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Cyril. I think, this is a collaboration between you as a company, the logistic company, and also aggregation company, but also a technology company that is led or by IBM. And I would like to invite Andrew to just give us a brief, on top of what Cyril had just given us or has described for us as to how this collaborative effort works. So, Andrew, please come in. Over to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So let me share my screen. Or maybe could you share the slides? I'm having some difficulty with.
Lavender, do you want to do that quickly?
Yes. So for Andrew, what's the name of the presentation?
IBM Research, HGRF with today's date.
Okay. Sorry, I have Sahel Grains, Agra USAID, I have Nestle, Oftaker Supply Chains, and I have Yemisi from Sultry's presentation.
Okay, I can also share the screen if that's okay, just to make it faster.
Yeah.
I have it. Let me just see how to.
You as presenter.
Okay, yeah,
that.
and I can just do that, no problem.
Okay,
yeah, maybe I.
Can you give her the right to do that, Lavender?
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right. So give me just 1 second.
Go into sharing and share your screen, please.
Sharing. Oh, sorry. Sharing. Can you see my screen now?
No,
Not yet.
So I'm sharing the play button, then you select which screen. Yeah.
Okay. Just 1 second. Open. Yes, I can. Okay, I can see it. Sorry. You know what? Actually, since I think Cyril has already described most of the solution that we're working on, maybe what we can do is Andrew can just quickly talk about the some additional specifics on the farm digitization application, even as I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen, and then talk about the boundary detection models. But maybe before he goes into that, just to introduce IBM Research, we're basically the research and development arm of IBM. We're based in Nairobi, and the main work that we do is to develop commercially viable technologies and be able to test them with partners like Kumwe and other partners in the ag ecosystem, as well as other areas of interest for our organization. The main ones that we've been working on is the agriculture project that you've had, but also we've been doing some additional work in healthcare, but the main thrust of our work is utilizing machine learning methods to be able to drive the development of insights. So maybe Andrew, you can just go into a bit more description on the farm digitization application and the models that we've developed, and I will try and share my screen. I'm still I'm getting some weird screens, but I think Andrew can go into the description as I make this work.
Okay. So I think Cyril set a good background in terms of the problem we're trying to solve. So maybe I'll just jump into the solution that what we're working on right now. So it basically the key goal of this solution was to see how can we help improve the forecasting of supply. So remember, Kumwe sources maize from this many small-scale farmers. So how can we help them optimize where would they go, source the maize, and also know what quantities are there and in various areas, and also with the expansion plans, how can they know where can we target or where can we now expand and maybe go source maize where we've not been sourcing before. So the main components of the solutions are, number one, farm digitization. So if you work backwards from this solution, so we want to know where maize is being grown. So for you to know that, you need to first of all be able to know first of all where the farms that are growing maize. That's the first step. And then the second step is now you need to know these farms are growing maize, track them throughout the growing season of the maize cycle. And then before the harvest period, can you be able to estimate what is the yield that you expect for each of these farms you've identified? And then that is subject to weather information and also some satellite information that we're using. And then, so that's the farm digitalization bit. And it has two parts. So we have the model that I'll talk through maybe later on that we've built out that help us detect farm segments or sections of land in various regions of interest that are conducting farming activities. But for us to know the next step, so these are where farming activities being conducted. We need to know now next which of these farm areas are growing maize. That is the next step. So what we're doing with this farm digitization tool is Kumwe is going to go and help us source for about 400 farms. Number one, they will do boundary. They'll walk around the boundary so that we can collect the boundary information of this farm and then collect some season information. So right now we're going to run what they call season A, which is mainly a maize growing season. So they specify in this farm we've collected in season A, they're growing maize. And then at the end of the season, that is in next year in March, they'll go back or maybe call back the farmers or go back to the same farmers and record for this farm that we recorded, that for season A, this is the yield that they got. Now, that is the data that now we'll use to build out and enhance our farm boundary detection model, and number two, our yield estimation model. And then the other aspect of this is just a dashboard that will help Kumwe be able to manage the operations. How will they know which areas that we have the farm, what is the estimated yield in this area, so that they can better plan the operations. So in a high level, those are the main key components of this. So where we are right now is we've just, like Cyril mentioned, we just deployed the application with their team. So we are currently doing some testing where they'll start doing, even though we have this COVID limitation restriction between traveling between districts in Rwanda, we've already talked to the team. They're going to collect some data points. So we are testing the app if it's working as is, and it's been, like you mentioned, there was some feedback that we got from them, and we already implemented them and sent back the application. So the next 2 weeks is that's what we're planning to do. And the plan is from beginning of October, that's when the actual data collection will go. They'll be able to send, I think they'll use their partners. I think Cyril mentioned One Acres Fund to go collect the data. Now, the farm digitization application, farm digitization is key, because if you want to unlock all of these value propositions or be able to penetrate these small-scale farms, you need to be able to digitize it. So you need to be able to know for this farm, how much are they producing over the various seasons, what are they growing, so that you can be able to better plan. So for Kumwe, are able to plan better in terms of which areas to target. So this is some screenshots of the application, and it enables, I'd say, two main things. So the first thing is collecting the boundary information, so you can be able to go there, map out a farm. So mention this village. For our case, we're using the villages as the regions of interest, and then you can add, you walk around the boundary of the village, of the farm, and then it collects the boundary details of that farm. Then the next step is now what you're calling growing season details. So remember, like I mentioned, we've just gotten into the season A, which is the maize growing season, which now if the app support, now they'll be able to say growing season A for this farm, they're growing maize, and then at the end of the season, they have an option to come back and say, for this farm, this is the amount of yield that we got. So that's the data that we use to build out the yield estimation model. And then the other thing that it supports is tracking of activities. So now, if you want to, some other factors that affect how much yield you get from your farm is what other activities, or when did you plant, for example? Did you apply fertilizer? At what point did you do that? So the app supports tracking those information like that. So how can you, for each of these growing seasons, you have the possibility of adding all these details. When did that farm till? When did they plant? Even harvesting, and all these activities that happen during the season, and they're tagged. And the point of this is to enable us to enrich our models. The more data we can get to know about what farming activities were done on each farm, and then the yield will enable us to build better and stronger models. The other thing is around prices. So if you think about it at the village level,
And you're gonna have to wrap. I know you're so passionate. We have so many presentations. So this is thanks.
Okay, so maybe we can just go to the last one. I'll just do the other thing that we did the first version of the boundary of farm detection model. Here we're observing the temporal change of the satellite data. So we're using the vegetation indexes. So what you're doing is we're tracking. So for example, this is season A for growing maize. We're tracking as from which starts in September till March. So we're collecting all these satellite images as the season progresses, and then using that, we're able to notice the difference. So when you plant, or when you're just planted, you have a very low vegetation index. But as the plant starts growing, it becomes higher. And then when you harvest, it drops. So we're observing that change. And then based on the various types of crops, you can be able to tell which areas are being farmed. And the same thing can be used to detect where like barren land, forest, or water bodies. So that's what you're using to differentiate or identify where these areas of people are growing farms. So maybe I can just pause there and maybe say any questions I can answer them.
Thank you, Andrew. I mean, you know, all these different projects are all about improving market for smaller farmers and in different geographies. So we have now a presenter from Nestle, who are working with agripreneurs in Uganda.
Do you want to do questions now about that one and then go to the Nestle group, or do you want to go straight through?
I think we can just go at the end if we have time for question and answer. But we can allow 1 or 2 questions at the end. Okay. Faith, I mean, Hermes, it's over to you. You can just take 5 minutes to just go through what you do and where you are at under the current program that you are implementing in Ghana. Thank you.
Okay,
Hermes,
thank you very much. Yeah, I hope I'm audible now. And okay, let me share my screen. Okay, I think it's our partnership start with AGRA, and what we do actually, we are working to youth entrepreneurship development program in Central and West Africa. So whereas we are working with small scale farmers to improve the yield and their engagement with the companies and to ensure the high quality raw material. So I think what I can say, this our youth agripreneurship program actually can be summarized in the 3 pillars. We say future farmers, future farms, and conducive environment. So I think in the future farmers, like our partners is on the call today, like Saltree and Sahel Grains in maize. This pictures particularly is representing our partnership with Sahel Grains in Ghana. As Kumwi mentioned, that aflatoxin is not only the issue in Rwanda. I believe that it is the issue in entire Africa and in Asia as well. So therefore, we are working very closely with the young farmers to ensure that they are producing the very high quality maize, which we can use in our product. But what we understand that the main objective is here to intervention of the companies with the young farmers in the villages, to let them know that there is a future in the agriculture for young people, and there is opportunity also to create a sufficient income if they do proper agricultural activities. Maybe we can call as a premium market. So during our intervention and different discussions with the different group, like when we meet with the young woman at the village who has recently married and has child, and she's very honored to share, she's doing the maize farming, and also she's sharing the best practices with her neighbors and elders. So I would call this really open-minded, So, and also during the harvest season, when we visit them, you see the young people here on the picture. He is very honored, and then he is very willing to share how much his maize is clean, and then there is no any black spots, and how he grow the maize, and he's harvesting now, and he is very honored to share because he did the good agriculture practices, where he is expecting to get maximum benefit. Of course, with again the great organization done by the Sahel Grains end of the season, we recognize the best 3 farmers, who has done the highest yield increase and then highest quality improvement. So this is the activities what we carry on with the Saltree, our cassava partners in Nigeria. Very similar activities, to work very closely with the farmers to increasing the yield, and then and also to create them to route to market. So I'm sure like Saltree and Sahel Grains are engaging with the more young farmers to ensure supply to Nestle requirement today and the future. So when we talk about the future farms, it's really important to also to have, first of all, the sufficient land and suitable land. If you look at average land per farmers today is less than 2 hectares, which we believe that this is not sufficient for the cassava farmers. This is not sufficient for the maize and soybean farmers. So therefore, we agreed with our partners that we need to help young people to expand and extend their land from 2 hectares to 5 hectares, where can they get more income, at least when they are doing the farming. So, and also another side, to providing them the right quality and the right amount of the input, like a fertilizer, mechanization supports, and also to harvest support will help them to make the farming is much easier. And also when we talk about the input, of course the seed quality, and like if you talk about cassava, Saltree is already started to produce her own plantlets in her laboratory. These are the good activities, and I'm very appreciated Sahel Grains when he was searching for the best quality of the seed this season, because we faced some issues on the last season. We have very strong contact with the global companies to alert their headquarters from the abroad, and then to give them the maximum support to get the right quality seed into the Africa, where our young farmers can get the maximum benefit from the better income. So, and the meanwhile, when we are talking about good agriculture practices implementation, it is not only that, because we are talking about the agripreneurship here. Therefore, I called Madame Yemisi and Kwame himself and herself. They are the best example for the entrepreneurs, because they are coming from the farming background or accounting background, but they have the owner of the company now, so they know how to grow in Africa, how to do the business. Therefore, they are giving the entrepreneurship skills training to these young people, where we can see the more young people are becoming the agripreneurship in Central and West Africa region. Of course, I think last but not the least, we believe that conducive environment is very, very important. As I say, thanks to Agra, thanks to Vanessa, I think where we started this engagement with her in our Accra office, you know. So, and as you can see, Nestle top management are giving the big support, you know. So we are very happy with this partnership to grow further on the different area. Of course, with the companies like Nestle as an off-taker, and companies like SMEs, I can call like Sahel Grains and Sultry, and also to organization like Agra, IDH, USAID, you know, other donor organization. If we work together shoulder to shoulder, we see that there is a great opportunity for the improved local sourcing from Africa. In different occasions, we mentioned as a Nestle Central and West Africa region, we are already sourcing 60%, 61, 62% of our raw material from the Africa, from Nigeria, Ghana, and Ivory Coast. Now we intend to go to 72%, but we are focusing on that. We really need the support, all angles, private public partnerships, you know, to work with the farmers, to support the SMEs, and then to produce the high quality raw material, or high quality the medium material, which companies like Nestle and other companies can be used. And let's reduce the import dependence in Africa, while we are creating the job and opportunity for the young farmers in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Hermes. I think that was a great presentation, and I can see the collaboration that's happening between you and Sultry. And with that, I think I want to invite Yassimi to just give us a brief, because you know, Hermes touched upon the work you guys are doing together. Yassimi, can you take it over, please, and just give us a brief as to what you're doing, where you're at, and how this collaboration is helping you in working in those environments. Thank you. Lavender, can you give Yassimi the right to present, please?
Yemisi had said I present for her, so I'm just going to project it.
Cool. Make it quick, please.
I think we're going to run a bit over time to get through everybody. Hopefully, there's not a hard stop in 15 minutes, whatever time zone you're in. Hopefully, we can run a bit further. And so after Yassimi, we'll look forward to hearing from Kwame, right, from Sahel. Over to you, Yassimi.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the pronunciation.
It's okay. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be here to share what we are doing with the agripreneurs, that's the young cassava farmers in Nigeria, in Oyo State of Nigeria. The project is in collaboration with Nestle and Agra, supported by USAID. The project started last year with 400 farmers, picked over about 10 communities, and they were all within the ages of 18 to 35.
Yes, it's very difficult to hear you.
Okay, let me speak up.
You turn off
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I said the project was designed to work with smallholder farmers. We actually call it Farmers Children's Project program. That is, we looked at it that farmers were becoming so old, especially cassava farmers were becoming so old, and we think we have to have a program to replace these farmers with their children or younger farmers that will take on the farming in the next 5 to 10 years. And we figured we needed to start introducing them to the technique of growing cassava as a commercial crop against growing cassava as a food crop. So we had 400 youth between the ages of 18 to 35, and they must be youth who wants to do cassava for at least the next 3 years, and they must be living in the locality where we have picked them, or are willing to come into that locality to farm. And we we also wanted to add about 40% of women, and minimum of 40% of women, that is ladies, also involved in that activity. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so the objective, basically, like I said, the objective of the program was to, one, introduce young farmers, provide technical and financial support. We know that one of the major challenges the young people have is that they don't have the technical know-how of cassava farming. It's their parents that have been farming, and it's their parents we have been training. Now we want to make the young men and the young ladies to get interested. So we also felt that we needed to give them some little financial support. So we got support from AGRA, and also Sotri provided 50% support kind of thing for the farmers. We also provided very strong extension services, which involved guidance. So each of the cluster had extension officer living in that community to help to supervise, and also to help to train the farmers using the demo plot for the training. We also wanted to provide true to type disease-free cassava stem for the farmers. That we provided some from our field, some from they got also from their parents that have gotten from us earlier in subsequent years. I also provide market, of course. Such was to take up all the crops that is being grown, and they also got training on very good agronomic practices and post-harvest management, how to manage the root, especially in delivery to the factory, so they get the best prices available. We also train them on membership and cooperative membership, record keeping, farm management, and how to do business as agri-business generally. Establishment of demo plots. We use demo plots in the training so that they can see and learn, so they can see what is happening in the demo plot and translate it to what they are doing on their own farm. Various activities were conducted in the first year of the project. One of it was we mobilized and we trained. We provided the farmers with fertilizer distribution, so farmers were trained on how to distribute, how to apply fertilizer effectively. They were trained on herbicide application, so they could actually maintain their farms by themselves using knapsack sprayers, and of course land preparation, farm monitoring and supervision, and harvesting activities. These are all the activities that were carried out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Asimi. No, I think it's a great work. We can see some of the results that are coming up, that are coming through, helping the youth in Ghana, and the collaborative effort with Nestle to help those guys, become active in the agriculture. So with that, I want to invite the next presenter, Kwame, who is from Sahel Grain, and
yes,
I want to just Kwame, over to you. If you could just take a few minutes to tell us what you're doing and where you're at in terms of implementing your program.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good. All right. So, my name is Kwame Boateng. I'm based in Ghana. The founder and CEO of Sahel Grains. We started in 2010, 10 years ago, and we're basically a vertically integrated maize company. From upstream with mechanization for farmers, input provisions, seeds, fertilizers, market access. I mean, we go through the entire chain, right? So we started with primary processing. We just buy maize from farmers, and then we dry them, right? When we started in 2010, that was just what we were doing. We quickly realized that the maize coming to us was not of good quality. So we decided, look, why don't we integrate backwards to go to the farms and then buy the maize directly from the farmers? And so we bought some tractors, we bought some threshers, and then we started working directly with farmers. And then when we started working with, directly with farmers, we realized that the more we can be doing with farmers, you know, once you have tractors, you have threshers, because, you know, I mean, they had challenges with plowing, they had challenges with planting, they had challenges with ripping, you know, like everything was, so, you know, we've made a lot of backward. We've made a lot of investments in our backward integration. We are one of the largest mechanized service providers for farmers in Ghana right now. And then we've also invested downstream in primary processing. You know, where we work a lot with Nestle. We have state-of-the-art cleaning equipment, air screen cleaners, density separators, color sorters, and that has been one of that's been like a hallmark of one of of our relationship with Nestle. We are one of their primary grain suppliers in Ghana for their Cerelac brand. We also do secondary processing. If you look at maize, maize provides about 10% of our annual calorie intake in Ghana, so it is a very important crop. It comes in our local form in fermented dough, right? So and I think in a few minutes, I'll probably talk about how the lessons, like the quality lessons from Nestle, we've been able to apply it down into our local food market as well. The activity that we're doing with Agri and Nestle this is funded by the USAID Bureau of Food Security, and it has three main pillars. You know, like the core pillar is the youth agripreneurs, and one thing that is very important is that maize provides 10% of our calories. We have 1 million maize farmers in Ghana, right? So companies like Nestle, Sahel Grains, we cannot deal directly with 1 million farmers, so do some intermediation, right? So that makes the youth agripreneurship program very important, right? So they are the local community leaders that does the intermediation. So input provision, you have to go through the youth agripreneurs. It comes to mobilization and maize aggregation, you go through the youth agripreneurs. So they are the pillars of it, right? And then when it comes to mechanization, farmer mobilization at the local and the community village level, it still goes through the youth agripreneurs. To be able to interface well with over 1 million farmers requires more than just basic agronomic skills, right? It requires leadership, it requires entrepreneurship skills. So that is also like a core part of the YADIS program, making sure that there is a very immersive leadership training, very immersive entrepreneurship training, record keeping, how to resolve conflict. So it's a full suite, comprehensive kind of engagement that we have with youth agripreneurs. Why? Because without them, we can't really do much, because there's so much fragmentation amongst the farmers that they serve as the anchor in their communities, in their villages, and interface between us and then the farmers that we work with. Like we have 5,000 farmers that we directly work with. There's no way we can be able to work with them directly without this youth agripreneurs. So they are very important. Now, the role that Nestle plays in this is to serve to define what is quality, right? And I think if you go to this slide, you'll probably get a sense of why, like some of the benefits that we get from Nestle. We've supplied, I think close to 1,000 metric tons, if not more, since we started this year, this engagement with Nestle. So it seems to me like they're almost self-sufficient in maize when it comes to their local sourcing. So it is important. But then, Nestle standards, when it comes is the most, probably perhaps the most stringent in the world, right? Less than 2 parts per billion when it comes to aflatoxin, for example. So given the fact that we are able to consistently meet it, and the lessons and the know-how and the experience that we've gotten for that, okay, look, we're going to take this thing and we're going to apply it in 2 different places. So the first place was that we started exporting it to the UK, and we had no problem doing that, because if you're able to supply to Nestle, the same standards, if not even more stringent, that we give to Nestle, we're able to supply that maize to Nestle, the UK. So that was one. The second thing is that maize provides 10% of our annual calories, right? So it's a very important part of our diet. And when you go to the open market to buy maize, the aflatoxin level is about 200 parts per billion. It's very, very bad. It's toxic, right? So we've taken these lessons and then we say, okay, look, we're going to take this and apply it to our traditional foods that we eat, where we get 10% of our calories daily, right? So we have the first FDA and Ghana Standards Authority certified food maize, fermented maize. For the first time, Ghana has that, right? So if you go to the local eating places, our local eateries, the chop bars, we have supplied them in Kumasi. If you go to our modern trees, the shop rights, all the, so we're there, right? So we've taken this important engagement with Nestle and we are applying it, right? And I think that is a very good profile that we can probably, be able to extend, because if you look at the UK, what we are probably doing is not even a scratch of the surface. They import millions of metric tons of maize annually, right? And then, all across Europe. This is a very fertile market for us. Our local youths. Hello.
Yeah, if you could just wrap it up or just move forward. I know you have a lot. There's a lot to explain, but yeah, we should.
Yeah, I think I can pause here and then we can go through the rest of the slides. The rest of the presenters. But then like the lesson is that this is exciting. The youth agripreneurs are the anchor, right? They have to develop before everybody else can develop, because there's no way on an economic basis you can you can make an economic case to work directly with that many over 1 million farmers who are smallholders. They are so fragmented geographically and so on, right? So like the Yardis project is the pillar by which companies like us can scale, and then we can be able to work with supply consistent, affordable quality to Nestle and other buyers.
Thanks, Kwame. I think it's what's interesting that's coming up for me is that your engagement was both with the farmers, the 5,000 farmers, but also I think you work with Nestle is a great one. This is an example that we have to take into other areas with large off-takers like Nestle can offer a huge market for African farmers, and I think that's a great example. With that, I think one of the biggest projects we have, and so far I think we focused primarily on West Africa with Nestle and Sahel Grain as well as Parsley. And I want to go to Kilimo Trust that is being implemented in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. And I think even though we have delayed in terms of starting that project, I think they kickstart recently and they are showing some really significant activities and also results. With that, I want to invite I think Sarah from Rachel from Kilimo Trust, and if you take it away from here, thank you. Rachel.
Thank you very much. Change presenter to Rachel. Lavender, if you could kindly share the very
okay.
Good.
Okay, then
if you kindly could share the screen, your screen, so that I walk people through what we are doing.
That's the correct presentation?
Yes, it's called the Competitive African Rice Initiative Project. Yes, very good. Thank you, Lavender. Good evening, everyone, and good morning for those who are away from us. My name is Rachel Jambo. I work with Kilimo Trust, and we are implementing this Competitive African Rice Initiative Project in East Africa with funding from USA through AGRA. And now very quickly, I will skip some slides in the interest of time. This program was actually designed to address the glaring gaps in the East African rice sector. And basically those were three large ones. One was the low competitiveness of production. We as East Africa can actually ramp up our production quite significantly. And we are doing that over the years. It is going up slowly, but we are still uncompetitive because rice from Asia still reaches our markets. Our local markets are cheaper than our rice that comes a few kilometers from the market. So, and the other thing is we are importing about $300 million worth of rice into the EAC. And yet we do have all the necessary infrastructure, or at least we are naturally endowed to be able to actually retain a significant portion of this money. So we have a high import bill into East Africa, and also, of course, due to changing dietary patterns and increasing urbanization, and of course, a growing middle class that is demanding high quality food. Our demand for rice and well packaged, very well sorted and clean and high quality rice is only on the rise. And so we are implementing this project across East Africa. We are working in Uganda, in Kenya, and in Tanzania. And basically, we are working to scale up what we call the consortium approach business model that leverage private sector investments for inclusive growth of SMEs in the EAC. And we are also working very hard to increase the competitiveness of locally produced rice, that is through our matching grant partners. And we are also looking to capture those local markets, local and regional markets, so that we can significantly drive down that $300 million that we are spending to pay Asian farmers. And also, we do also have a couple of rice trade barriers that we'd like to address at the regional level. So our goal really is to improve or to contribute to inclusive transformation of the rice sector for sustainable increment of incomes for 220,000 men, women, and young children. We are looking at having 40% women and 25% youth. And our objectives really are those written over there, to increase productivity, commercialization, and profitability for enterprises or smallholder producers, and to strengthen and expand access to competitiveness in national and regional markets for locally produced rice, and also work to strengthen the local and national regional enabling policy environment. Now, in this project, we are working in partnership, and the partnership really is between before I go to the implementation model, we are working as partners. We work with the matching grant facility, with the private sector companies, some of whom are actually on this call from the various countries. And I hope we will have at least a couple of minutes to have at least one or two of them say something, the organizers, please. We're also working at the East African regional level with the EAC Secretariat, especially to address and look at those rice trade barriers in the region, especially for regional markets. We are also working with the various organizations and institutions, especially national level governments. And later on, you'll see the kind of partnerships that we have built across the EAC. But also very important is we are also including youth to ensure that they also benefit from the profits to be made along the rice value chain. So this is our implementation model. We call it the consortium approach to value chain development, and we have integrated this with the village agent model, especially to deal with that issue of employment, especially for young people, but also most importantly, for them to also participate as service providers and also gain from the benefits along the rice value chain. So with our model, really, we start with the market. We look at what is the pull factor for that value chain, and rice has a very strong pull factor in the EAC, as I've already explained. We have high demand and it is growing, mainly because our population is mostly young and we like nice food that is well packaged, and with also increasing middle class, this actually is bound to grow. And then, of course, we look at the crowding in or pulling in who will now be uptaking this commodity. And so this is why we're working with the private sector companies spread across the EAC region. I'll talk about those briefly. And also we crowd in smallholder farmers who are business oriented and experienced, and also dedicated or oriented at least to commercial farming and to improvement in what they are doing, so that we are not we're not looking at doing business as usual, but we aim for profitability growth and also ensure proper access to rewarding and competitive markets for their produce. And then that is the third step. And then number 4 is we rope in or we look at who else now, who can support this core value chain. The value chain that we look at really is between the lead firm or the market taker and the smallholder farmers, organized smallholder farmers, not individual, not individualistic, but people who are organized to work together to achieve something bigger than themselves. And then we rope in the commercial suppliers of inputs, and this is where the village agents come in quite handy because they do provide this service in the local areas, helping to actually provide equipment for sale or leasing or hire. They also engage really in distribution of inputs, especially as agro dealers for bigger companies across the regions and in the rural areas, and also as ICT and extension service providers. And then finally, we look at who else in the value chain can provide, especially the public good in nature services. For example, who are the other development partners? So some of the sub-projects you look at, we do have sub-projects in this project. Some of them actually involve government institutions or departments, and others also have other institutions such as enforcement standards or even foundation seed producers or companies, for example, the National Agricultural Research Centers. So this is our model, and we now have established in total 22 business or what we call business consortia. We have 6 in Uganda, we have 4 in Kenya, and 12 in Tanzania. These details, we can already share them, but like I was saying, some of them most of them have a business, private sector businesses, while others also include national institutions. For example, like Kenya, in some of their projects, they actually are working with KAURO, and some of them are working with other national level programs, like, for example, the Rice Promotion Program of Kenya. So in Tanzania, it's the same thing. We have our highest numbers in Tanzania, followed by Uganda, and finally with Kenya. I mentioned earlier on that we're using what we call a matching grant facility, and therefore USAID is providing for the matching grant facility about $1.9 million for this, and for that $1.9 million, we are looking at reaching the 220,000 smallholder farmers, and of course leveraging into the rice value chain another almost $3 million in private sector investment, because all the partners are contributing 60% of the total project costs, while the USAID grant actually covers 40% of the project costs. So this is how we are leveraging investment into the rice value chain. What have we achieved since April 2019, when the program was signed off by AGRA? We are happy and excited about our results. We look at what we have been able to achieve in this 1 year or so. And as for now, we have now managed to integrate 62,000 smallholder farmers, including women and youth, in structured input and output markets. And these are the farmers so far who are now working directly with our 20, actually the other 9 have just come online. We are looking at having that large number coming really soon, now that we have all the merchant grant partners brought in. But for now, we are at 62,000 and growing. to integrate these into structured markets. We have now introduced actually 2 rice brands. One is in Uganda that has already been launched earlier on this year, and the other one is in Kenya. These are new rice brands that have been registered and brought online for improving local rice production, or locally produced rice, to have it well branded to be in the supermarkets and things like this. We have also seen quite a significant volume of paddy being traded, especially supplied directly by the smallholder farmers to the matching brand partners, about almost 28,000 metric tons, whose value is about $9.8 million worth of product pushed to the millers for milling and then onward selling. While the millers themselves, we have seen about 26,000 metric tons valued at $24 million actually sold through national and regional markets in this period. We have created about 579 new jobs, especially for women and youth. And these have been mostly in provision of inputs, but also supply of agro inputs to farmers, and also provision of spraying services and other agronomic services to smallholder farmers who are engaged in the program. We have about 2,740 metric tons of quality inputs accessed by smallholder farmers, while about 51,000 have accessed finance, especially through input refinancing, but also physical crop production loans from financial institutions that are engaged in the various consortia. About $3 million worth of loans have actually been provided for especially to SMEs to improve their machinery, but also to smallholder farmers for input loans, and also production loans, and also buying new transport for paddy and all these things. So, and also equipment that some of the SMEs did not have, and we are seeing this value growing as well. So far, where we are right now, we have leveraged about $700,000 from private sector contribution actually to the implementation of this program. As their contribution, the 60% that I talked about earlier. Right now, we are at $700,000 as investment from the private sector. In terms of policy, we now have a regional rice platform with 12 members that have been actually selected by the national governments of the EAC partner states. So we have what we call a national, the EAC rice platform that has already been established. It is working, and some of the things that they are doing, we'll see them later. In terms of regional trade and capturing that regional market that we have, right now we are seeing about almost close to 2,000 metric tons being sold across regions, and we are seeing our partners actually selling across both to actually EAC region, but also across to COMESA as well, because we have rice from Kenya going all the way to Zambia and Congo, but we also have rice that is crossing into South Sudan, especially from Uganda, and so we are seeing partners actually capture a bit more of that regional trade with local production, and especially during these COVID times, it has even been even more critical to have the local production actually ramped up. And of course, also our partners are taking seriously that national.
Rachel?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap up. Otherwise, we might lose our audience, and I would love to have a few questions before we close, if it's possible. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. So I've already mentioned what we are doing in addressing trade barriers. We have those members, and we are doing quite a few other things with the EAC Secretariat. I've already talked about that support from the national government of Kenya, especially. This one, unfortunately, we cannot talk about it a lot, but we had actually the president of Kenya actually visit one of our matching grant partners, and he, after that visit, actually made a very big announcement that now the Kenya National Trading Company will now buy local produced rice, and they are already buying from some of our partners who are actually selling to this national trading company. I've already talked about cross-border trade and our new brands that have been introduced. And of course, the rice platform that was already launched and fully operational right now. The exciting things, I just want to say something about the laser leveling that also matching grant partners. Matching grant partners are providing a lot of services to smallholder farmers, as you can see in the pictorial. But one of the things that they are also doing is ICT, especially to aggregate demand over the mobile phones of farmers, but also providing services like, for example, leveling for irrigation schemes that is being done by one of our partners in Tanzania. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Rachel, for a great presentation. Now I think we just allow for at least 10 minutes to have a Q&A, and then we can wrap it up at 7:30 in Rwandan time or 8:30 in Kenyan time. So Mark and the team, if you have any questions, please fire away. We try to make it as brief as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate this, and really that you are still all holding on, and it's late on Friday. I admire that very much, and I appreciate it as well. I have no idea who of my colleagues may or may not be on yet. I do have some questions. One of the ones I have is really at targeting Kumwe. It wasn't quite clear to me what the link was, or there was kind of a jump. We're working on aflatoxin, and then we're jumping over to machine learning, and I wasn't able to quite follow that jump. So if you
can help with that content before Kumwe and IBM come in, Mark. Good question. The reason is that we're working with Kumwe and AIF on several engagements simultaneously. And so I think Cyril presented the whole engagement, of which the digital piece is just one of the pieces. So, and I think it's really important that we appreciate the complexity that the aflatoxin work is a whole long-term and fundamental reason why the digital traceability is so critical. And so then the deep dive into how do you trace the quality issues. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And this is also true, I think, for Fatih and Nestle and what we're doing in West Africa. So it's really interesting to share the learnings across this whole group. And I appreciate all of you still engaging. Cyril, you want to talk a bit more about the digital piece in particular?
Sure. And also just mirroring what you just said about, be great to share some more learnings of hearing some of what's being done by Sahel Group and the project over in West Africa. I think there's probably a lot we could learn from one another. Yeah, apologies if I wasn't clear on the linkage. Kumwe with AGRA and with multiple other partners, including Africa Improved Foods, we have a process for buying from farmers and being able to control for aflatoxin so that aflatoxin remains very low. And we've created this model and we've built it out, and it's operating. It still has to grow, and that's in place right now. The question that, as we've kind of succeeded in being able to combat aflatoxin through our model, the big question is, how do we increase reach to more and more farmers? So Kumai is working already with, I think, probably 90 or so cooperatives, and those are most of the larger cooperatives in the country. But it's still a small fraction of the overall maize that's produced. So I think part of the rationale of the digital tool is to help us find and access more farmers who are growing maize, so that we can also cost effectively, first identify them and cost effectively reach them and be able to use our existing system with them. Let me know if that makes sense, or if you need further explanation. But that's the linkage, and is how do we continue to get more farmers involved, because there's still many that are not, and there's still large unmet premium market demand that, instead of buying from local farmers, is being imported because you can't find them and because they're expensive to reach.
Okay, so that's clear. Thank you. When you say, and I'll bet Nestle wants to hear this too, when you say you control for aflatoxin, and it sounds like that's after harvest, what technology are you using?
Yeah, we've kind of put together a set of different equipment technology, and what we do is, instead of having the farmer do a lot of the post-harvest practices themselves, which takes several weeks, and in Rwanda is during the main maize harvest is during a rainy period. So given that it's mostly smallholder farmers, they don't have the right infrastructure to handle maize, aflatoxin quickly develops. What we do is we go to them right after harvest, and we buy the maize on the cob as a complete, cob, still wet, and then we will do the processing with industrial level equipment. And what we found is that by going to the farmer shortly after harvest and taking control of the process, of post-harvest process, aflatoxin doesn't develop. It brings questions. I know there was question over how much of aflatoxin develops on the field versus post-harvest. In our experience, and we collect rigorous data on this, almost all of it is developing after harvest. And by the way, just to be clear, when I say aflatoxin, what I'm referring to is 5 parts per billion. So when we buy, we sort out maybe 2% of the maize that farmers bring to us. So that's very rotten cobs, things that are obviously a problem. The rest of it we buy, and less than 1% of what we then deliver to the premium buyers has aflatoxin. I'm happy to share more details. I don't know if now's the time, and talk about the equipment. I'd love to see what others are doing. I think what we figured out, I haven't heard of others doing it, and I would love to share that knowledge because I think it can be of a lot of value in many places.
Well, I think what you're talking
about 2021, right here.
So I think this is great. I actually have worked a fair amount on aflatoxin issues before. Aflatoxins reside in the soil, so you don't really control for it post-harvest, but, well, you control for it. You don't get rid of it, you control for it. But you must be getting it dried down to under 13.5% moisture content very quickly, because that will control for aflatoxin. It doesn't eliminate it.
Right, so I think the molds, if I understand right, the molds may be present on the field, but it may be that they don't start producing the aflatoxin or non-sufficient volumes until the post-harvest process. And you're absolutely right, the drying is a critical part of making sure once you dry it below a certain level, the aflatoxin, the molds won't develop the aflatoxin, and they won't spread.
Kwame, are you raising your hand? It looked like a finger up from Sahel. No? I'm
okay,
sure
well,
everyone.
anyways, I find that really fascinating. I see Lourdes is on. At least she was a couple of minutes ago. Do you have anything, Lourdes, that you want to hear? Maybe she's on mute.
I'm on mute. Of course I was on mute. Hi everyone, excellent presentations by the way. No, I think Mark, you covered the questions I had regarding like the technology and the aflatoxin. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it because for sure we're being I think for most, of the projects we'll be focusing mostly on the drying, not so much before. And then we had the technologies like AflaSafe that we were also working with, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to learning more and the great results.
Okay, so I want to go back to Kumwe. Thank you, by the way, Lori. So Kumwe, I mean, you've clearly come a long way since I was out there. Gosh, Fiona, well, how long ago was that? Year and a half, 2 years? I can't even remember. But so one of the questions I had is have you been getting better yields? And if so, has that been through the introduction of improved varieties? I didn't notice anything on yields in your presentation. It may have been there, but there was a lot of data. I look forward to hearing the answer to that.
Sure. Yeah, so our focus on this problem has mostly been from the point of harvest.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry,
we're
I said Kumwe. Oh, I meant Kilimo Trust. I
Okay.
wanted to ask Rachel. Sorry very much.
Yes, thanks, Mark. Yes, some of the really some of the results that we are seeing actually is a promotion of some of these high yielding varieties. For example, we have new varieties that have been released by the national research centers. For example, in Uganda, we have Wita 9 that has been now released, and we are popularizing that actually through the various programs. We have the cereals program of Namlonge, part of some of the consortia we are working with, especially in central Uganda. They are picking up this very quickly. Also in Kenya, you will be pleased to note that we are building actually an East Africa-wide collaboration with Bayer Crop Science, and they are actually promoting Arise Gold. We are Arise Gold 6444, and they are. We already started our partnership on the GIZ program that you are aware of from our previous work with GIZ and the Gates Foundation from Kari One in Tanzania, and also in East Africa. So our partnership started over in Tanzania, but now they are actually part of the matching the consortia in Kenya, and they are working very closely with our partners in Kenya, especially to promote these higher yielding varieties, which are also quite aromatic. And now, recently, they actually also came over to Uganda because also Arise Gold has now been officially released in Uganda. And we are actually working with them through the matching grant partners to actually set up demo plots and also popularize these higher yielding varieties. So yes, we are seeing some of them. The volumes actually go up significantly because farmers now see that instead of having 5 bags of a local variety, which you sell very expensively, why not have 50, 70 bags of a slightly lower priced variety, which is not fully aromatic, it is semi-aromatic, but you still make more money in terms of profitability. So this is something that we are doing. We are promoting very seriously what we call Farmer Business School. And these are the principles that we are teaching. Instead of looking at price, look at profitability. So these are things that we are seeing farmers quickly pick up seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. So a question also for Nestle, and it really goes maybe to the heart of what your challenges have been, but compared to when the project started, or maybe it's a matter of expectations, what level of rejects were you at when you started, and where do you see the project heading in terms of your suppliers there?
Okay, I think thank you very much for the question, Mark. I think the aflatoxin is this long journey for us, for Nestle in Central and West Africa region. You know, it is nothing new. So it is almost I will say more than 5 years we are working on the project. We have a partnership with USAID in Nigeria. You know, to now we are continue with the AGRA to focus on the aflatoxin rejections. When we started, we were talking about you know, aflatoxin B plus G as a 4 ppb maximum limit which we can receive in our factories. But what we are targeting, we say that we like to achieve the 0.5%. So when we tested, direct answer to your question, I'm talking about today, when we tested the maize at the aggregator level today, I would say we achieve exact percentage of this year is I'm talking about the aggregator level, is the 7% now. So when we test it in their warehouse, but this maize is going to color sorting and cleaning. Afterwards, we test it again. Then we call as the reception samples in our factories. That rejection is less than 1% now. So we are talking about like, for example, if I give you the entire, before the project start, if you go back to 2015 and 16, we were talking about 25-30% rejection, even sometimes 40% rejections in our factories in Africa. Today, great achievement, I would say. In 2019, we only rejected 1 truck in Ghana and 1 truck in Nigeria because of the aflatoxin B plus G. But when you deep dive into the problem of the aflatoxin, when you reduce the limit from 4%, 4 ppb to the 0.5 ppb, of course, it needs the extra and additional efforts and activities to achieve those norms, like we do with our partners today with AGRA and Sahel Grains in Nigeria, Ghana, and other partners in Nigeria. By the way, I'd like to mention also the problem is not only the aflatoxin B plus G. If you test the fumonisin today, and then you'll see the challenges over there, you know. So therefore, when we are solving the problem of the aflatoxin B plus G, we are also now focusing the fumonisin problem where it comes to the issue today. And because we are reducing the fumonisin limit for Nestle to get the maximum healthier product for our consumers. So therefore, now I would say we are managing and we are controlling the aflatoxin B plus G, but we are more paying the attention on the fumonisin, because fumonisin is the mycotoxin which is related with the growing season, not the post-harvest so much like a B plus G. What we realized that, to knowledge to everyone, is Buka method in Nigeria, where they are early harvesting the maize with the 25% moisture level. So it is causing this problem because they are doing the intercropping with the other cash crops, where they have to harvest the maize earlier, and then they try to be the whip up at the field, and they know not sufficient air ventilation, you know. So then it becomes the problem. So therefore, you will see that now onwards we are a bit more talking about the fumonisin challenges in Africa, while still keep focus on the aflatoxin. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what's your, so I think in my experience, I found African farmers to be increasingly aware of aflatoxin as an issue. But fumonisin is, what's the level of awareness?
Not much. I would say almost zero, you know, when we started, because if you see the most of the countries, even you cannot see the fumonisin limit, you know, in the specification of the maize. So therefore, I think, but I am very happy, and I feel that I am lucky because of our aggregators to whom we are working. They are well knowledge about that. I think well aware about this problem. Their farmer as well, because our connection with the farmers is not changing every year. You know, when we talk about the field training, we talk about the aflatoxins during the growing season, pre-harvest, post-harvest, and during the storage as well. You know, we do the several the upstream supply chain project to understand where the problem is coming. Even though what we did with USAID in Nigeria last 3 years with the CNFA, you know, to rapid method for the aflatoxin and fumonisin, where we can test the affordable testing method for the both discontamination at the farmer level, at the aggregator level, at least, to understand how we can solve the problem. But I would say we are lucky enough, because of our aggregators, thanks to the project partnership, where we are increasing the awareness amongst our farmers as well, to whom we are working till today. But of course, beyond our supply chain, I think that very, very low level of awareness on the fumonisin today.
Right, thank you very much. So I have one last question for Andrew at IBM Research, if he's still on. And this really, I think, may be of interest to everyone, but so to what extent are we going to be able to crack the problem of traceability, where we actually get to a border control and the control officer doesn't have an issue any longer? How close are we to the that important inflection point?
Andrew, looks like you're on mute.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's on, but not on.
He's on mute. I've sent him an unmute request, so they can do it on my end.
Do you want to try and answer that? Is that Charity?
Sure. Let me just make sure I've understood the question, Mark. So you want to understand with regard to traceability and being able to identify specific farm fields. You want to understand if that will help to solve the field boundary question. Is that what the question was?
No, not at all. So the question is more, I was listening to Ed Mabaya's presentation yesterday during, I can't remember which session it was, and he brought up the example of you know, you can do everything digitally now in East Africa. If you want to move a product, you know, or go and buy seeds or fertilizer, you can do everything digitally, except when you get to the border post. And when you get to the border post, everything comes to a dead standstill, because they don't have, I guess they're not digitally equipped, or, you know, there could be any number of reasons. But how do we crack that particular problem? We've got the technology, we can show traceability right to a field, and the product gets to the border, and then there's a problem, right? And I would expect eventually that the whole point of traceability is that problem goes away. there's no more crossing borders, because you have all the data, and everything's accessible in the cloud, and, you know, but that has not even come close to being something that we see in real life. How do we get there?
Okay. All right, good. I understand now. So, you know, I think the question of traceability, particularly at the border, has more to do with interactions between the two countries and their customs system, much more than the existence or non-existence of technology to do it. So I think if you, at least from some work that we've done, my understanding is the reason that, for example, Kenya, Uganda, you know, Kenya, Tanzania are working on a one-stop border post. It's so that they can start to synchronize data as soon as you're moving from one country to the next. So the example maybe I would use, and I hope maybe this will answer your question, is for the longest time, if you're trying to clear goods between the Kenya and Uganda border, it means you provide a certain set of documents on the Kenya side that will provide you, you know, everything you need to clear, and then you literally go over to the next country, which is they are the same border, and you provide the same set of documents. So I think a part of traceability is actually making sure that that data sharing becomes more seamless. That's my hypothesis today. We haven't done as much work on traceability from that perspective, but there's some work that we had done on just the ease of doing business and moving goods between borders.
Mark, this is like another AGRF panel, which could kick off for at least an hour. I'm sure that Fatih and Cyril would also jump in with some examples, and even Rachel with the rice trade that they're working on as well. There's a lot of discussion of utilization of blockchain. IBM otherwise has a partnership as well with Maersk, I think, globally, that they're working on this under the Global Trade Facilitation Alliance. There's a lot of work which Trademark East Africa has tried to do. And so I think Charity's dead on in saying it's not a technology problem, it's a mutual recognition of documentation and transfer of documents. However, in working with Bolloré, I know that in certain high value commodities, it is actually done, full electronic transfer, and the processing is extremely rapid and efficient. I think the issue is with staple crops and low value crops, and more in, less sophisticated border crossing freight forwarders as well, who aren't as digitally savvy. So this has been an area I personally spent probably about 8 years on. But I do suggest, if anyone else wants to jump in, great, or we try and wrap up from here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that, yeah, it's a very complicated problem. The thing is, digital should make it a whole lot less complicated, but somehow it still seems to be very complicated.
Mark, maybe what I can, this is Andrew from IBM. What I can say is that we've done that from an international, and Vanessa mentioned this. We've tried doing that from cross-border at an international level where there's clear transparency, and I think the technology we have a solution that works. That solves that problem. I think where we are looking at here in this particular scenario, we didn't look at cross-border. I mean, we looked at it from a regional perspective. So the answer to your question is yes. The technology is there, like Vanessa mentioned. We've tried it, and would be more than happy to get into a deeper dive discussion as to what we've done, especially the cross-border, and we can address that. We can tell you what we've done, and it's been done. It's been done.
Okay, all right. I won't press this anymore unless anyone else has something to add.
Yes, thank you.
Fatih and I talked about it for West Africa, because I know Nestle at times has looked at trying to source across West Africa. But again, Mark, I don't think, I think the technology piece is actually not where the problem lies. And so it would be interesting to have a particular conversation. There was one technology issue about original documentation needing to be transferred, but again, that's been solved for. But mutual recognition, as you know, is still an issue. But let's plan for that being the next roundtable, perhaps.
Okay. All right. Hey, it's Friday night there. You all have had an incredibly long week. Thank you for indulging me and giving me your time. I really appreciate it.
Just so we see everybody, if you would all turn your videos on, there's still 25 of our 35 different participants. Some of you can just show your faces. And I, for one, really, hey, Vianney, it's good to see you.
Vianney,
fantastic. Hi, Salem, we didn't even get to hear from you. Wow, this is fantastic. I'm into group photos online, you know, why not? Let's just see everybody. And I just want to clap for all of you. This has just been a fantastic program and session and fantastic results. Great to see you, Rachel.
Yes, great to see you too, Vanessa.
Hi,
Thanks.
Lourdes. We missed you all in Kigali, but a few of us came just to show everybody that, you know, COVID is we're gonna get used to this COVID thing. We'll figure
Oh,
it out.
yes, we have to beat it.
Back better. Thank you all so much and really have a wonderful weekend. And I will say this is the official close to AGRF, even though we really closed it like 3 hours ago.
All right. Well, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Good to see you guys. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Gilan.